Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to our second edition here on TECspertZ, talking about the baseball recap going on this season. I am Anthony Bove. I have a show Inside the Lines on WZMB 91.3 Mondays and Fridays, 11 a.m. to 12 noon. Be sure to tune in and listen to us. Everything and more about sports. You need to be there. Over to my right, we have...
I'm Daniel Shepard. I'm the sports chief of the East Carolinian. Check out our newspaper, stands around campus Tuesdays and Thursdays, as well as our stuff online.
I'm Eric. I'm Eric Fisher. I have a show on WZMB 91.3 FM called Buzzer Beater. It is on Mondays and Wednesdays, 4 to 5 p.m., where we cover basketball and sometimes go over other sports as well.
And I'm Lydia Ryan. I'm the sports editor for the East Carolinian.
We have Lydia in here today. Unfortunately, Jess is at home. He is sick, so it's a pleasure having you here, Lydia, and filling in for him. But let's get right down to business, shall we? This past weekend, let's recap what occurred at Clark LeClaire. Obviously, a great Pirates sweep here against William & Mary, as we are now 3-0, and there's a lot to digest here. The pitching staff was unbelievable. The hitting on Saturday particularly exploded. It was a pitcher's duel in the first game, and opening day, they won on a walk-off base hit by the catcher Seth Cadell, which was great. And then Saturday, like I said, the bats exploded, and Sunday was the basically the matinee, and they won 7-4 there. You have more on that, Daniel, as a great weekend for the Pirates.
Yeah, absolutely. The starting rotation only gave up one run over 14 innings. Of course, Alec Burleson looked really good on Friday, 7 innings, 6 hits, 1 run. Tyler Smith was good for 5 innings, 1 hit, 6 strikeouts. I know he's really turned into more of a strikeout pitcher from last year, so that's really exciting. Cooch Manor was on a pitch count on Sunday. He's still working back from a little bit of an injury, but he looked good. Then the bullpen really finished it out and really held up all weekend.
For sure. I mean, names like Saylor, Mayhew, even Agnos came in, Giles came in, did the job, Bridges, Colmore, the list kind of goes on of some of these guys. And we talked about on our first episode about this pitching staff and some of these youthful young guys they have in the bullpen. It was on display this weekend.
Yeah, they played amazing. Everyone stepped up, played well, especially the defense too. They had 0 errors, I believe, in every single game, not 1 error. And Seth Cadell even said after his walk-off win, he was more impressed not even with just his walk-off, but with his catching and the defense throughout the game. And I think they just played almost a flawless game on defense, which is really impressive.
Yeah, and I would also like to add that I think I saw that we had the largest attendance of any opening game in North Carolina, at least.
Wow, excellent.
And I spent the weekend at the softball stadium and could hear the crowd all weekend.
Beautiful. Yeah, the fans at Clark LeClaire are always great, and obviously the opening weekend was fantastic for sure. So a 3-0 record to stand here, and tomorrow we have a game against Campbell at Campbell. Not too far of a drive right down the road, about 2 hours, but this is going to be a good game here against Campbell, who always usually gives us trouble in some way and plays pretty competitively.
Absolutely. I believe ECU lost the same game last year after the opening series, after they swept Radford. So it'll be interesting to see if they can get the win this time. Elijah Gill's going to be on the mound. JUCO transfer, left-handed pitcher. Really good success at the JUCO level, so we'll see if he can carry that over on Wednesday.
Florida kid, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, Florida. And hopefully, obviously, some of these guys in the bullpen been used a lot, but hopefully we have some other guys, Gill to mention, and maybe we see some other guys that we haven't seen yet. Nate Napholtz, Bradley Wilson, to name a few. So looking forward to that.
Yeah, I see this game as a chance for a lot of players to step up and just a one-game road game against Campbell. And almost like it could be one of those scarier games where you just go one quick game on the road and you kind of take not even the opponent light, even though Campbell is still a great team, but you just almost underestimate them just because it's one quick game, then you're back home going against Georgia Southern on the weekend.
For sure, and let's go right into that. As you mentioned, Georgia Southern this weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. They swept their opening weekend. They're also 3-0. So when we clash this weekend, it should be a pretty good matchup against Georgia Southern. The rotation is not quite out there just yet, although we can speculate to see who possibly could be pitching. One of the names could be maybe Jake Kuchmaner out there, and maybe not so much on a pitching limit restriction inning sort of thing.
Yeah, I would expect the range to kind of be off him a little bit more, maybe go 3 or 4. We'll see probably Tyler Smith go a little bit deeper into the game. The only reason he was pulled on Saturday was the long inning in the 4th. Just wanted to preserve his health. He only threw 63 pitches. So we'll just kind of see the reins being took off the rotation a little bit. Won't see Gavin Williams this weekend. Coach Godwin said that today, Tuesday. But yeah, it'll just be more of the same. Burleson going on Friday, more than likely. It's not official yet, but just see if they can replicate the performance from this past weekend.
And we talked about last week how injuries, you kind of want them now, even though it's not always a great thing to have injuries, but have them now rather than have it bite you later on in the season. Gavin Williams and Christian Smallwood both on the injury report still, and doubtful both this weekend. Is that correct?
Right. Gavin will be out this weekend, and Christian Smallwood is doubtful, so he will more than likely not play with a finger injury.
Right. So now you kind of just hope for Gavin can maybe slot into the rotation come next week for the LeClaire Classic. But obviously these injuries, we'll figure it out. Time will kind of get to it. But this weekend so far, probably Burleson, Tyler Smith, and Cooch Maynard to be lined up this weekend. Any other thoughts, Eric?
I mean, I think there's no point in rushing these players back and just letting them heal up. Even if he's doubtful, Smallwood, just let him heal and just kind of go through rehab and get through the final stages so you can be 100% going into 2 weeks from now. But also, I think Tyler Smith pitched really well on Saturday. He kind of got in a couple jams, but he persevered through them and got out of them well and just really helped the Pirates. So I'm excited to see him pitch.
And another thing with Tyler Smith, too, the offense exploded that day for 11 runs.
Mm-hmm.
The offense really picked him up that game, so he had no worries as far as run support there.
Yeah, I agree with what you guys are saying as far as, making sure these guys are completely healthy before you bring them back in, because even the, most minor little thing, if they're not completely healed up, it could put them out for the rest of the season. So no need to rush it coming back.
For sure. And this past weekend we talked about this offense kind of exploding. Matt James and Connor Norby both going deep for their home runs, as well as Thomas Francisco being named the American Conference Player of the Week. I believe he went 5 for 8 with 4 RBIs. He did very, very well. And so this offense that we talked about with the loss of Brickhouse and Packard and Washer, now seemingly maybe there isn't so much of a worry, and especially a little bit of a spark plug and a bright spot, this young freshman here, the younger brother of Jake Agnos, Zach Agnos.
Right, yeah, just looked a little anxious on Friday. Cadell walked him off, though, and really Saturday, Sunday they looked more relaxed and just locked in at the plate. Scored a combined 18 runs over Saturday and Sunday, and Agnos, I believe he's hitting 429 on the year, batted out of the leadoff spot on Sunday. So that'll just be something to watch, his performance over the remainder of the year. I know Coach Godwin said he wants to continue to bat Lane Hoover out of the 2-hole. So, and then, you got Franny and Burleson 3-4. So just really strong performance this weekend, and early returns are good on the offense so far.
For sure.
Yeah, I really loved what I saw from Agnos, not even on the offensive end, but also the defensive end. He played really well. He stepped up to the plate, and he really delivered a great game. And Francisco also played well. But it was a big confidence booster, especially with the way they batted on Saturday. So that whole series was just great for the Pirates going into next week.
And not to mention, too, Agnos got on the mound and did a little bit of pitching as well, as needed late in the game there. I believe that was on Sunday. Sunday he came in to pitch. So a lot of flexibility here, a lot of moving parts with this Pirates team. And on Sunday, too, Ryder Giles came in to pitch, went back to shortstop, and then a few batters later, he went back to pitch again. So I thought that was interesting, just the kind of being open to all ideas here on this offense. So a lot to look forward to here on this Pirates roster and this team. Outlook for this weekend and tomorrow. Let's start with tomorrow first. How are we feeling confident-wise getting a win on the road at Campbell?
Well, it'll be interesting just to see how Elijah Gill responds to playing at this level. Godwin has said that they're going to have to piece together the pitching staff a little bit like they did on Sunday, so that'll be a little bit of a question mark. But, of course, we've seen the bullpen dominate like it has this weekend. So if that continues, limit Campbell to 1 or 2, 3 runs, and this offense can keep going on the road. Obviously, we don't have a barometer yet of how they're going to perform on the road, but it'll be a good early test to see how that goes.
For sure.
I think seeing Gill get off to a hot start would be really good for the team, and getting off to a quick start early on in the game will be big for them on the road. But I think this will be a tough matchup. Campbell's a solid program, so I'm interested to watch this one, but I do think the Pirates will still get the win.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be the first to tell you I don't know much about the stats, but I do love watching a good home state matchup, and I think this will be an interesting game to get a kind of a gauge on how they're going to perform on the road.
And it's a tough one because it's a midweek game. It's right smack down in the middle of the week, Wednesday game. The guys are still kind of sore, tired from this past weekend, and they kind of rolls around Wednesdays very quick. Not only to mention they won't be playing home, they are on the road at Campbell, which is about a 2-hour drive right up the road here in Greenville, but still, nevertheless, something that added kind of fatigue for the players. And then let's mention about this weekend matchup against Georgia Southern, as they are both undefeated at the moment, and we'll see where things go with that. But how do we feel about against Georgia Southern?
Well, I believe, if the offense can continue to roll, it'll be a fairly good series for the Pirates. I don't really know a whole lot about Georgia Southern. They are undefeated. I believe it has been since 2009 since they last played Georgia Southern, since ECU has last played Georgia Southern. So be one of those matchups that you don't really have a whole lot of scouting report on, but home game always have advantage to ECU, I feel like. So it'll be good. Pitching holds up. Get a few runs on the board. It should be a good formula for
and
success.
this is the Pirates. That is a team that won 28 games.
28-6 at home last year.
28-6 at home here at Clark LeClaire in Greenville. So you have that distinct advantage for sure. And the fans are always great. They turn out. I think there was over 3,000 fans at each game. As Lydia mentioned, a big turnout on opening day, biggest potentially in the state. So that's always a plus.
Yeah, I don't know if they'll maybe necessarily sweep this series, as they may be a little fatigued also going on the road and coming back home. But I do definitely see them winning the series at least 2-1. And I think just seeing how Georgia Southern responds to the pitching, because as you said, Burleson, the rotation hasn't been released yet, right?
Not quite, no.
Yeah, but it would be expected as it was the past weekend. So I still think, looking at it, ECU should definitely win the series. But I'm interested to see how Georgia Southern responds.
Yeah, and it's also important to mention that while we have our home state matchup tomorrow against Campbell, Georgia Southern does play a game this afternoon, so Tuesday afternoon. So it'll be interesting to see how they do in their home state matchup as well.
Excellent. So a lot to look forward here for the Pirates and ECU baseball, as that will recap our second episode here on TECspertZ. Thank you all for watching, and we will see you right back here next week. Thank you, everybody.